Everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, we're going to be featuring this 1983 FJ60, which is a truck that I picked up several months ago, and honestly, she hasn't done much except sink into the hole that she's sitting now and become a glorified parts storage unit, just like all the other trucks in the yard do before I start them. So let's see if we can get her to roar back to life and pull her out of this hole and get a parts list together of all the things we need to do to bring her back to life. So there's no question that this truck is in excellent shape for a 30-year-old vehicle, and that the previous owner did a lot of preventive maintenance to bring her to the point that she is now. We still have a ton of stuff that we want to do to bring her up to the par that I would like, so we can send her down the road to somebody that will truly enjoy her. But first, we need to get her started, because she's been sitting here for about 3 months, but I have a feeling that won't be a problem, because it's a Toyota Landcruiser. Well, the first thing we're going to do is try to wash off all the stuff that's on this truck. I don't think it's been washed in about a year because the previous owner told me it just sat in his driveway. So between the faded paint and all the barnacles that are on it, let's see if we can get her to a better state. So I went ahead and put a list of things that we want to tackle on this truck together. I'm sure I'm going to run into a lot of other things as the project kind of progresses. In the interior is where a lot of this stuff is going to be taking place. So this carpet is very tattered and it's really actually non-existent and all ripped in the back here. One of the big things that needs to be happening is the headliner needs to be redone. As you can see, it's all ripped up. At the same time, we're going to go ahead and fix that crack in the windshield. I have a second-hand windshield, but we're going to have to get a new seal as well as the new headliner. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start ripping out the interior like I usually do to see what we got. As you can see, we made some quick work of pulling out the interior. This is not the first time that I've done this. So a couple things that I'm noticing. First off is that it's actually just immaculate in here. There's just no sign of rust anywhere. All the plating is still on all the bolts, and one of the most amazing things that I absolutely love is that every single fastener just comes off right away. Another thing that I'm noticing here is I actually never knew that there was a plastic behind these seat belts. I guess a lot of those here on the East Coast just kind of crumble and go away. I think I've said this in the past video, this being an early FJ60, the seats are actually connected in a different way. They have these bars up here and these posts that are a little bit higher. So the seats and mounting brackets do bolt up a little different. So a lot of times when I'm doing these trucks and I'm taking out the carpet to either do cleaning or add a new one. I do end up leaving this third section of the carpet alone and just try to clean it in the truck, because it is kind of a pain to get out as it tucks under all the air boxes, and there's a couple screws on the firewall that need to come loose in order for it to pull through, as well as getting them under the shifter boot plates. If you ever take it out, is very, very hard. So we're going to be replacing the carpet, like I said, so it does need to come out. So there we go. One of the projects I want to tackle here is putting in a Speedo cable in this 60 series. When I drove it home, the Speedo wasn't working. Initially, sometimes the cluster, when people maybe pull it out in the past, they never connected this section of the Speedo back up. So I did take the cluster out and check that, and then it was connected. So it led me to go down below the truck, and as you might guess, it was slashed. So had the Speedo cable sitting around, so we're going to go ahead and switch it out. And I've done that on an FJ55, a little different on a 60 series, so let's take you through that process. So the cable has a little bit of a plastic like zip tie down in this area, so you're gonna have to pull it through there. So right here is where the Speedo cable actually feeds to, if you can see right there, there's a little hole right here that feeds it through under the truck, and it runs to the actual transfer case under here. So if you run under here, this is the actual Speedo cable right here. It connects to the transfer case here. You can see that little nub. I like to use some channel locks on this guy here. It loosens it up and it makes it really easy to get the transfer case part of the cable off. Before I pull that off, you can see here my Speedo cable is broken right there, so it just kind of pulls on through the trans tunnel from up there, the hole that I showed inside the cab. I think you should take the smog stuff off. I don't know, this truck is pretty original. I don't know if I would. Dang it, just do it. It's gonna make it run a lot better. You could probably track down the freaking vacuum leak. That is a good point. A vacuum leak is gonna be a pain in the butt. It will be easier to diagnose. That's what I'm saying, just do it. Just pull it off. All right, screw it. Just pull it off. And all that smog stuff is off. If anybody is looking for smog stuff, I'd be willing to sell this stuff specifically. That was, as far as I knew, in working order. I also have a box full of other stuff, so if you're looking for some, let me know. All right, my carburetor's all off. One reason I wanted to take this off was to change all these gaskets over, as well as check to make sure that the manifold isn't cracked. Sometimes that can cause a vacuum leak. And we want to get all this stuff cleaned off here. I do not like that, so pull that off. Here's our stopping point for this evening. Got the entire manifold all off. Plugged the intake holes so nothing goes in there. This is the exhaust downpipe. I'm playing with the idea of not going ahead and putting the manifold back on, and I have an extra header. So since we did go ahead and pull all the smog stuff, I figured we could just throw a header on and just put some straight pipe on and go that route. So what do y'all think? Think we should do that? Leave a comment below if you think so. So here's the intake manifold and exhaust manifold all back together. We went ahead and shot peened the exhaust manifold, which looks basically like a brand new casting, and then sandblasted the intake manifold. We are waiting for a couple parts from Manifree to do the complete smog block off, which is a plate for here and under here, which is all EGR stuff. So once that comes in and we get those all bolted on, we'll be able to put it back on the red truck. So hopefully the UPS truck gets here soon. Thing's heavy. The next order of business is getting this headliner out. As I'm waiting for the new headliner that was ordered to come in the mail, I've gone ahead and already prepped everything by pulling, things like the light out and leaving the screws in. All the grab bars have been pulled out, visors and mirror. So last step is to pull this out. Normally if I were to pull out a headliner, the front glass would come out and the side quarter windows. But since it's already broken, we're just gonna pull it right out. So should be a little bit of fun. It's really starting to look like a battle zone in here, but finally parts are starting to show up. More little things and bigger things that I need, but things like a brand new shift knob, which is much needed. We have the rubber pads for the pedals, which again is much needed here, as well as some of the even smallest details. This is for the hood prop. This is non-existent in this truck, so got a brand new one. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in. Just finishing up degreasing the motor. I still want to go ahead and pressure wash it once I get that manifold all back on. We're going to go ahead and work on the valve cover. This is an old one off a 2F that I had locked up, so just using it as a parts valve cover. It's in great shape. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, put it through the parts washer, sandblast it, and replace this old dingy one. So let's get to work. So which valve cover would you go with? This one, freshly cleaned one, or that one? I'd say this one. Guess what, guys? Guess what? Guess what? The new carpet! Oh. The new carpet's here for the truck. Hope it's the right one. Yep, new carpet for the red FJ60 made it. It's the brown color, and if everybody remembers my other red truck I'm working on, I got the gray carpeting for that truck from the same company. The ACC Carpets does a nice job. It's not 100% like the stock stuff, but it's pretty dang close. So it's the first look we're getting at it. It actually looks pretty good. It's a nice color. A lot better than what we got in this truck. So next step is going to be overlaying the old carpet with this carpet and start cutting the slits, because these do not come pre-cut for things like the holes to mount the seats, the shift boot, stuff like that, etc. So that's the next step here. Let's get started. All right, we got the windshield all out. Our buddy Eric put the headliner all set up here. We have to glue the headliner to the seam here, so that's why we're going to go ahead and replace the windshield, which was cracked already. Got a new seal, and unfortunately I'm not going to go with the chrome stuff inside there, so they sell both types of seals. We're just going to go with the straight black to make it a little easier. Now we just got to clean all this jazz up. So after cleaning the glass, we are setting the new windshield seal onto the window glass. It's nice to use some masking tape to tape it into place because it will want to fall off. Also, one thing I did before putting it on here is I let it sit in the sun for most of the day to kind of soften up, because we're going to need that when we go to rope it in. We want this thing to be able to pop right into that seal. If you've been following the channel for a while, you would know that we had a lot of trouble on the red 62 glass, so hoping this goes in a little more quickly.
I wish I could say that this new piece of glass went in buttery smooth, but with it being 30-year-old glass, I broke it. And I proceeded to break the next piece of glass I tried to put in. And sometimes you just need to know that it's time to call in the professionals to do it right.
All right, I cheated a little bit. Had to call in a professional to do the glass on the FJ60. I think it came out really well. He did it with ease, but unfortunately, me breaking two rare windshields that I couldn't find anywhere, I just needed to have a professional do it. So sometimes you gotta go ahead and do that, and we got a new piece of glass in there that complements the new headliner. After weeks of waiting, we finally got the Smog Kit in for Manifold. It's a pretty simple kit. We have our smog rail block offs, as well as our EGR stuff, and then our actual smog pump pulley block off, which is in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that all together so we can get this truck running and moving again. All right, so as we're beginning work on getting the manifold and intake to go back in the truck, we are looking at the two plates that came in the Smog Kit. These are super important. One of the reasons why I went ahead and bought the kit. So this plate with the line goes on the side here, fits great. Just gotta get the gasket under there, and then the other plate will blast back off the back of the EGR that goes on the exhaust manifold there. So everything seems to be fitting, so let's get it all on. So we are going to go ahead and start putting everything back together here for the exhaust. This is a Remflex gasket. I like to use these, as everybody might know that these have a hard time sealing this manifold. So found a lot of success with these. So we're going to go ahead and use that. So I've done these exhaust manifold gaskets several times, and one thing that I would suggest if you're doing it yourself is the back 14mm bolt that goes in the very end. This guy right here. I would suggest kind of setting that screw in first, or bolt, as if you put all the other stuff back in first, it can sometimes not be lined up and basically impossible to try to thread in later in time. So make sure you do that. That'd be my suggestion while you're doing this job. Holy smoke. That's awesome. Runs awesome. Now that the motor is running nice and smooth, we still need to tune that carburetor. We got to start putting the interior back together. As you can see, we still have to pull the quarter glass window here and get that headliner all glued back. But in the meantime, I'm gonna start putting in the new carpet. Did a little more cleaning back here in order to prepare for that. So I'm gonna put the first piece in now. The new brown carpet is officially 100% in. It's one of those items that you put into these trucks and it really makes it turn a page. As you can see, everything is just coming around and looking essentially brand new. This front section, as I've advised before, is very difficult to put in, especially cutting these shifter boots, but I think it came around really well. Now we just need to wait for the seats to go back in and get this front seat reupholstered with the classic cruiser rip so we can start driving it down the road again.